Hey everybody, it's Pbogz here and I'm making my second video for HUSitandGo.com. This time around it's a little bit different. I had a $50 reg that went by the name of Spiritsock that contacted me and thought it'd be a pretty good idea for us to both record each other over a few games, a good sample, and basically give each other constructive criticism along with having everybody else, have the ability to watch us and adjust to each other's gameplay. I thought this was a great idea, and so I decided to go forth with it. We have about 5 to 6 games played. A lot of interesting spots in this game, both good and bad. So let's take a look, and here we go. So the first game we have here, I have a small sample size versus this guy. I do know that he's aggressive pre-flop, capable of 3-betting, and definitely open raises like in 95 to 100% range. So right here, second hand of the game, we have ace queen suited, offsuit. Definitely want to 3-bet that. We had mid pair here with top kicker. This board definitely hit this range, but we have to fire a c-bet anyways, so I decided to go on the lighter end of 150. Once he calls there, I put him on, a few hands like Jack 10, King X, Queen X, maybe even a 7X. So I decided to check back to see what he does. He could also have hands like Ace Jack as well. That 9 isn't a great card. Unfortunately here, his hesitation got me and I snap called him here. He did play the hand rather interesting. Definitely lost some value there on the turn, but in hindsight definitely fold there, just because when the 9 hits I have Jack 10 in his range, and a lot of the time you're going to see Jack 10 there. So definitely in that spot when he fires away on the river at about a little over 2/3 bet. Usually I should fold, definitely relist. It is a tough spot though. I know this guy is aggressive and definitely capable of bluffing. One of the previous games I had against him, he bluffed flop, turn, and river. So that was fine. Right here we have, mid pair. We know he likes to c-bet a ton. Figuring raising there is probably the best play there. Calling is just too risky, and folding is a little passive. I mean, a lot of stuff you're gonna see here is standard when it comes to c-betting a flop like 5-5-9. Ace isn't a bad card to barrel on the turn, but if I'm gonna barrel that turn card, I'm gonna have to fire away on the river as well, because a lot of 9x is still gonna call. Flush draw is still gonna call, just because stabbing that ace there isn't as believable as some may think. Definitely versus thinking player. 9-8 suited, just gonna flat there, plays very well post flop. We do hit top pair, he checks back, so we decide to fire the turn for value, and he folds, which is great. Right here we decide to limp. I like to develop a limping range versus an aggressive player that I know tends to likes to be aggressive with my opening raising range. So with hands like Jack 5, King 4, things like that, I'd like to limp rather than raise, just because they don't play as well post flop. But obviously if he's punishing my limps, I can't really do that. There, fortunately, he didn't, and we got to see a flop for pretty cheap. Right here, a 3-bet Queen 10 suited. A lot of people like to limp there, but since he's opening at 100%, I decided to raise and fire that river, even though it's not a great river, but usually not in his range at all there. So we fire away, and we get the fold, which is also good. Right here we got pocket queens. Obviously we open. We get 3-bet, and I decide to, just flat, try to set him up here. Now he bets 200. We have about 700 left if we just flat call, so I figured the best way was just to, shove. It also looks weaker, just the re-raise there looks really strong. And, yeah, obviously, we set him up pretty good there, and he hit, the flop, a turn, I'm sorry, and, he takes game 1. So right here we have king 3. We decide to open. Just a very bad flop. Hits a lot of his range. Even if I see, but then I'm gonna get called with a lot of straight draws and pretty much all pairs on the board. So just to check it down and basically check fold the turn. Now right here is an interesting spot. I was gonna fire away here, but I decided if I check and re-raise him, because I had a feeling he was gonna stab there. Just re-raise, check raising him there looks a lot stronger than simply just stabbing. So when he bets on the turn, I re-raise, and obviously I'm stabbing, firing away on this king here on the river. Not really worried about the flush because he would have definitely fired on the flop. Not worried about any straight draws either. Like 6-9, anything hidden, because this guy obviously firing away on most of his flops. So pretty good barrel card on the river there, and we got him to fold. Once again, staying aggressive. 9-4-3, definitely see betting this flop, no doubt about it. And as you see, he hasn't folded so one of his hands out of position yet, which is fine. One of the reasons easy play here. You usually just need to check fold at this point. Folding out of position, so I have. And plus he's 3-betting almost. Obviously versus a guy like this, you want to stay dynamic and mix it up a little bit, keep him on his toes. So he never really can understand what you're up to. A little more poker instead of just straightforward stuff. That a hand like this isn't going to work too well for this guy. So speaking of mixing it up a little bit, I decided to open donk bet here for value with my 8-10. Just to mix it up a little bit. I'm not too crazy about, check raising 10-8 anyways if he decides to fire on the flop. The 5 doesn't scare me much at all either, so I decide to barrel as well. And we get the fold. One thing about donk betting, out of position, is you just don't want to do it for value. You definitely want to mix it up with some draws, with complete air and value, just to keep him on his toes. You don't want to be so one-dimensional that every time you raise, he's gonna know that you have something. So right here we hit a pretty strong hand, and I check the turn just because I know that this guy loves attacking weakness, and I decide to overbet the river to look like a bluff, and we get him to call, and he ends up showing an ace-x. Ace-4 actually. The reason we overbet the pot on the river was just to make it look like a bluff. If I value bet there, it looks a lot stronger than me betting 350 to 400 on the river. Right here we hit an ace on the river, but decide just to check it down. We want him to take a stab on the river, but even if we're betting there, we have some thin value with him just calling with air, thinking it's a chop pot. But, obviously Jack XS is dominated, 2XS is dominated. And I don't have any pocket pair on his range because he played that way too passively. So we missed some thin value there on the ace on the river. But, we also wanted to get him to bet the river. So we took a chance, and unfortunately, it didn't work out, but at the end of the day, we lost only a few chips in revenue. So unfortunately with tens there, he folds for the first time, which is just my luck. A6 here, even though he's opening so wide, still not 3-betting with an A6. Don't want to be out of position with a hand like that doesn't play very well post flop. So he checks back, and at this point, I'm pretty much 100% sure that when he checks back the flop, he's pretty weak. So that's something definitely to note, something that we should look into, and as we did, we fired around the turn and he folded. When the blinds go up to 1530, decided to open up with 2.5 times. If you got 2 out of the line, we'd go back to min raising, but as you see here, he does get out of line, but we have a monster this time, and we catch him all in with ace queen versus king jack. And we do hold up, and we do even the game out at 1-1. Right here, we open up the game with pocket queens in the third game. Kind of taking the momentum with us here, which is always good. When you play somebody more than, twice, you start to develop, pretty significant reads, and you just want to adjust to a certain gameplay. So right here again, decide to donk bet with a gut shot straight draw and 1 overcard. So now you see me donk bet with, top pair, and now a flush, straight draw. So as you see, I'm mixing it up versus him. And so far he's folded both times, so at this moment in time he really has no idea what we're doing that with. So we're going to continue to use that as a tool. So right here we have pocket aces, and he folds again. Just unfortunate that he isn't folding much at all, but when it comes to my big pocket pair, he has folded twice. Lucky for him, which is cool. Didn't get 2 out of line with all of his hands, and try to bluff me out, 3-bet me with a hand like Jack 4 suited or something like that. You must have had some pretty bad cards there. So right there you see him start to punish our limp. Something to definitely look into. If he decides to continue to punish your limps, what we do to adjust is simply just, limp in with monsters and trap him that way, which always works too. So right here, king 4-3, we have a gut shot, we have 1 over, we decide to c-bet. It's pretty dry flop. Unfortunately, he re-raises us 3 times. A lot of the time he's bluffing there. It's just, very early and in this game, and I could, flat there. Could even think about shoving too. In hindsight, I probably would have liked to flat that hand in position. I think giving up there is just a little bit too passive, and unfortunately, I made it a little bit easy on him, because a lot of players are going to check raise that flop. So right here, the turn wasn't the greatest card. The flush draw hits. We have mid pair with not a great kicker at all, so we just want to get down the showdown and we end up splitting the pot, which I'll take. Mid pair with a pretty bad kicker. A lot of the time, I'm out kicked there. Fortunately, we got the chop. So right here, we have ace king, and implementing our game plan right away. As he punishes our limp, and we decide to raise for value. Top pair here, and just decide to, half pot it here while I'm the call with his queen jacks and his draws and stuff like that. Jack isn't a great card. Ace queen hits and queen 9 hits, but once again, those are gut shots that hit. So we decide to bet again on the turn for value, and he does shove. Unfortunately, he hits 2 pair, and And holds up again. Now, if ace hits on the river or 9 hits on the river, I definitely slow down there because, you know, the obvious queen jack hits. But, you know, I decided to play that hand a little more aggressively on the turn. Once he re-raised, I was pretty much pot committed, and, you know, I'd like to know if anybody of you thought that I should probably maybe check that turn and, you know, check call the river, or check call turn, check call river. I think either way I'm losing a lot of chips there, but you know, I've always played, you know, being aggressive is just a way to be. You'd rather be, you know, betting than calling. So unfortunately he just, you know, hit 2 pair on the river. We still had, you know, ace X there. You know, we had our straight draws and our kings, you know, so we still had a lot of outs on that river, but fortunately we didn't hit. So this is our next game here. You know, we decided to re-raise the king here. Just wanted to, you know, put a different dynamic in with not slow playing as much. A lot of players wouldn't re-raise that flop with the trips, but I decided to. Unfortunately, he took this as a stupid strength and folded. With him folding there, I'm pretty sure he would have probably checked the turn as well, and probably would have check folded turn or check folded river. So don't think we missed out too much on that hand. A6 once again, just smooth calling him here. I'm gonna call the flop once and fold most turns if he fires away again. Yeah, so you know, I feel like if you call the turn there, you feel obligated to call the river, so just folding there is fine. Pretty standard. Once again, he's punishing our limps. Once in a while, I'll stop limping, and then I will shove in a limp or two, just to see if he's still punishing our limbs. So right here we have pocket 10s inside the 3-bet, obviously. This is his first 4-bet of the game. I don't think, you know, shoving there, like you just see a lot of pocket pair. Definitely, you know, at best I'm in a coin flip situation. So I decided just to call here. You know, if the ace hits, I was hoping to see a check there. Maybe, you know, bluff him off the hand. He does fire away with the ace on the board. So in my mind, I don't beat any ace X at that point. Even, you know, pocket pair that are higher than mine, I don't beat at all still. So I just decided to let that hand go. I mean, it was his first 4-bet, so I decided to get, you know, a little passive there. Right here again, I decided to, you know, check re-raise king 5. You know, not ideal. I saw him opening up 100% of the time. Once again, you know, have to fight back with certain hands. Definitely not really my comfort level, but at the same time, I felt like it was a good play at the time. Definitely after 3-betting before, felt like 3-betting the second hand right after is an indication of strength more than anything else. I didn't think he took it as any kind of tilt or anything like that, so it worked out well for us. He folded. Right here we try to limp with pocket jacks, and unfortunately he didn't stab this time. Oh, I'm sorry, punish, which is fine. Right here, if you see c-betting 100% of the time, definitely raising this queen for value. He's not going to have ace X a lot there or queen X, so with him raising, you know, and opening 100%, his range is so wide that when you have a pair like a queen there, you should want to, you know, get some more value out of it. And not just, you know, calm him down. Not only are you giving him a chance to catch up, but at the same time, you just want to, you know, keep him on his toes, not let him run all over you. So we have queen jack. Once again, a hand that plays very well post flop. You know, you could definitely smooth call here as well. Versus a lot of opponents, I would. Some might think you're actually losing value by 3-betting there. Definitely versus an opponent that folds a lot. This guy folds, 50% of the time, so it's kind of, a coin flip there if he's folding or not. But, at the same time, definitely you can flat there, or you can simply re-raise like I 3-bet and, play it from there. So right here, once again, implementing our limping range. Obviously, he's hammering away on our limp, so we're going to make him pay for it each time. Jack 5 here. I'm not crazy about this hand. Definitely missed an opportunity to, check raise the flop. Then on the river here, he fires away, and I'm kind of torn between shoving here. Calling is certainly out of the question. I decide to take the passive route and fold. A part of me really wants to shove there. The queen is definitely a good barrel card for him. In hindsight, yeah. I'm sure he didn't have much there. If he had a king, good for him. He definitely calls there and gets me all in with his flush draw. But I think with the way he's been c-betting, definitely shoving is probably the best way to go in that point. Could be wrong, but just being how aggressive he was. Technically, I like, check raising the flop even better than shoving the turn, but we missed that opportunity. So with what was left, folding or shoving, I definitely like shoving. It's right here, not the driest flop, but can definitely want a continuation bet here. And he does check raise us. We have a flush draw there and 2 overs the second pair, but at the same time, even if we hit our flush draw, we're still in the dark, and it's very hard to play post after, basically giving him the reins, knowing that he's probably going to follow up with the turn and the river. And do we really want to be, faced with such a hard decision, post flop, such a mediocre hand? So right there, I try to take an aggressive route, but the turn and river just, completely killed my hand. No cards to barrel on or anything like that, so I decided just to check it down there. Fortunately, he had a low flush draw and hit. It's right here, once again, he's folding 70% of the time, so queen 3, definitely 3-bet. We do it top pair, which is fortunate, and get shoved on the flop, and we do hold up. I mean, when I'm raising with a hand like queen 3 suited, I'm hoping he folds there. I'm not doing that against a player that's, calling my 3-bets all the time. At that point, he was folding 70% of his hands when I 3-bet, so I'm definitely opening up my 3-betting range, definitely, since he's opening 100% of the time on his blinds. So, when he calls there, I'm not crazy. When I hit top pair, I feel a little bit better about the hand, and obviously we got it in ahead, so it worked out well. But when you are 3-betting hands like king 4 suited, jack 3 suited, queen 4 suited, you're doing it against an opponent that is folding a lot when you're 3-betting, not calling. When somebody's calling a lot when you're you don't want to be polarized. You want to, do it for value when somebody's calling a lot of your 3-bets, obviously. Right here, once again, he's c-betting 100% of the time. Paired board, don't think he hits that too often. Decide to see, check raise with my ace high, and we get him the fold, which is good. Back to the 3-betting, you could even, when you're polarizing your 3-betting range, you could also 3-bet with like jack 10 suited, queen jack suited, versus a player that's calling a lot, since it plays so well post flop. But a lot of players will also tell you that they like to flat that as well, just because also, you know, it plays so well post flop and you're out of position, so you don't want to build the pot out of position. I guess it depends on how confident you are, you know, playing out of position. You know, sometimes I'll call it, sometimes I won't. I mean, sometimes I'll 3-bet it, sometimes I won't. Just depends on game flow and stuff like that. So right here, going just a little back and forth. You know, we're opening about 50% of our hands. The 3-betting level is definitely going down quite a bit, which means that we could definitely open more without having to worry about him 3-betting us. And as soon as we say that, obviously he decides to 3-bet us, which is fine. So right here's an interesting spot. Blinds are at 25-50. We're pretty deep. I decided to shove here. With him opening 95% of his hand, I expect a lot of folds here. You know, if he's holding like 2 overs, it's hard for him to call here just because he knows that, you know, either he's flipping or behind in most circumstances. If he has a solid hand, then obviously it's an easy call and he would have called by now. Now he thinks about it and decides to, I believe he calls here. Yeah, he calls here with Queen King, which I just, you know, I can't stress to you how much I don't like this play. I mean, this is the first time I've 3-bet shove. He has to know that either he's behind against an ace X or against a pocket pair. He could, you know, he could be killed by ace king, ace queen. He's flipping versus pocket pair for all his chips. I just think that it's not a good play at all, to be honest with you. So, fortunately, he won the hand, which is fine for him. I'm sure he likes that. It's just when thinking about what you're up against when somebody's shoving you there, a lot of the time you're going to see pocket pair. But still, versus pocket pair, and you have king queen, you're still flipping. And do you want to be flipping? I don't know. For all your chips, or do you want to call all, you know, all your stack on, you know, something? It's different when you're shoving, but when you're calling, it's just it's thin. I'm not crazy. I would like to think I see what he was thinking during that hand. He did wait till 1 second left to make the call, so maybe it was just one of those, you know, flip a coin in my head type deals. But no, he ended up winning, so good for him. But you know, in the future, I wouldn't advise that play unless, you know, if it was my 3rd or 4th hand, fine, shove. But you know, here we go. So here we have pocket aces and decide just a smooth call here. And we're gonna check raise the river here for value. Once again, he thinks about it. He ends up calling with a 3-9, which again, don't really understand why he's making that call. And again, we lose.